Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome back to everyone who was with us yesterday, and welcome to anyone new who's joining us today. My name is Elsa, and I am the host for today's UI/UX Adobe live stream. And I am joined by Alyssa again, our guest for today's stream. Once again, she is founder and creative director of Alyssa Nguyen Design, based in Princeton, New Jersey. And yesterday was kind of amazing and exciting. She designed an epic and funky landing page for her design podcast, The Designer Diaries. And in a bit, she's going to tell us what we'll be doing today. But I hope everyone's excited because I definitely am. Let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. Yesterday, we had so many people from all over the world. I remember we had someone from Bangladesh, from Greece, from Canada, from the States. So lots of different places. Let us know where you're joining us from today. If you are on YouTube, definitely hop on over to Behance and join us here. That way you can type in the chat, comment on anything, ask questions, and we'll be able to see. So don't forget to join us over on Behance. A couple of things before we dive right into today's session, and I give Alyssa an opportunity to tell us what we'll be doing today. If you missed it, be sure to check out the second week of the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge Creative Encore with Andrew Hockradell. It is taking place every weekday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So don't miss it. I said this yesterday, and I'm gonna say it again. The daily creative challenges are a great way of building your design skills, learning how to tackle different design prompts, and the best part, you can always share your designs on Discord, on the Illustrator Discord server, and get feedback from mentors, from your peers, from anyone who's interested in commenting on your design. So I can't say this enough. Definitely try out the creative challenges and see what you can come up with based on the prompts. But yeah, super exciting stuff. One more exciting thing that's going to be happening during today's stream is that we have our artist spotlight session. So that's great. That's an opportunity where we'll be looking at an artist's work and essentially marveling at how great it is. But if you do want to recommend anyone for a future artist spotlight, you can do so by clicking the tab above the chat. You should be able to see it right there. Recommend anyone you know, a friend, somebody who inspires you, anyone you think might be a good fit, and maybe in the near future, you'll see them on an artist spotlight, or maybe you'll be on one, who knows? So yeah, super exciting. I want to give the floor over to Alyssa so she can maybe reintroduce herself for anyone who wasn't with us yesterday, and also tell us a bit about what we're going to be doing today. So Alyssa, welcome.
Hi, Elsa. It's nice to see you
Hi.
again. Hi, everyone. If you weren't here yesterday, my name is Alyssa Nguyen. As mentioned, I'm a graphic designer. I specialize in branding and web design. I'm self-taught. I also have a podcast, which is what we're working on today. I've been described as if Jess and Schmidt had a daughter from New Girl. I didn't share samples of my work yesterday, so this is sort of the aesthetic that I am known for. So some of my work with branding and packaging, and this is some of the websites that I've done. So very much within the realm of what we're doing today in terms of style and aesthetic. What we're doing is taking the landing page that I designed yesterday, and we're converting it into a mobile optimized landing page. So we're taking the design that's already done for us and thinking about navigation and user experience when it comes to being on a phone. And then if there's any time, maybe I can build out an about page so you can kind of see my process with building a page that's not the landing one. So yeah, and if there's any questions or comments, I loved yesterday's interaction, so feel free to keep it going this time.
100%. Yesterday, people were so engaged. We definitely would love that today as well.
Okay, so I'm just starting out with the XD's templatized versions. I always have a hard time choosing which one to go with, but I just go with usually the 13 or the 12. Mm-hmm. It's what I've found most people have when it comes to iPhones, but it's hard to tell because there's so many different variations now.
Yeah, that much is true. We already have quite a few people who've joined us. Hi, Tiana. Tiana says hi. Lexi was here yesterday and she's here again. She says, let's go, Alyssa, in full caps, just to, communicate that to you. Hi, Eli. Val is with us again. Oh, Eli's joining from Switzerland. Tiana is joining from Canada. Oh my gosh. Key Nicole is joining from CT. Rory is joining from Navajoland. Oh my God, so many different places. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again today.
Yeah, that is so cool. It is, sometimes it's wild. I forget that, you can reach more people than just your corner of the world. So via the internet, it's so crazy to think about.
Right? Like almost all 7 continents are here. You'd never expect that you'd be doing a live stream where so many people are watching you.
Yeah, I never expected to do a live stream, to be honest. So lots of unexpected things happening today.
Yeah. Oh, I really love the gradient, how it looks like on mobile.
Thank you. I honestly really love gradients more so on a phone. I think it's more noticeable on a phone because if you think about with a scroll, the background just takes up more of your screen than it does on a desktop. So the main thing that I'm trying to do with, or I'm keeping in mind with this mobile design is I'm trying to think about like a thumb, basically anything that I want to be clicked or touched. I think about where it's being reached with a thumb. So I'm not going to put anything necessarily on like the top left corner, right? Because that's like very far for a thumb to click.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking so much about like yesterday, I think I mentioned, try to do a zigzag technique when it comes to visual interest to get people to keep navigating. With a phone, you don't really have that luxury of like a wide horizontal space. So it's more about trying to condense everything so that people aren't having to scroll for like 10 minutes to get to the bottom of your page. So that's really where the, not difficulty, but where more of the differences lie.
100%. So those are really, really, really good tips for any new designers, things to think about when you're designing for mobile as opposed to website. So clearly we'll be learning a lot through today's session.
But yeah, I would love to answer any questions. I definitely wouldn't call myself like the be all end all of mobile website design, or definitely not app design, but I've had to design quite a few mobile versions for my clients' websites. So would be happy to answer those. But I'm actually not using responsive resize today. I know most people really like it, and I honestly really like it too, but I just find that I always end up having to tweak the responsive resize anyways to fit what I like. So it honestly just ends up being more convenient for me to kind of transfer and resize everything by hand, if anyone was wondering why.
Yeah, and for any new designers who are maybe new to XD as well, where do you access responsive resize? Just so they know.
Yeah, so if you like click on something, there's a little tab in layout, and you can do auto or manual, and it'll essentially just, as you scale it, it'll kind of reshift things. So it's really convenient, I would say, if you're doing a lot of app work. It makes the resize very like consistent. I think if I were more toned into being efficient, I probably could implement using that feature more. But I think because I'm a bit of a perfectionist sometimes, that I do prefer to just resize myself. So.
Oh, still people coming in saying hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Chris. Welcome back. We saw you yesterday. Stephen from Florida. Welcome. Diamond, Augustina. Mackenzie says hi again. Elsa and Alyssa. So excited to see it all come together. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, so many different people.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is. Halia from Australia. It's 7 a.m. there. She woke up. I'm going to assume for this. Maybe she has work.
That is so.
But welcome. Oh, we have a question from Key Nicole. You wanted questions? So questions are coming in. She asks, how did you get your start in web design?
That's this is actually a funny story. It's probably not as inspiring as it could be. I booked a really awesome client that I really wanted to impress. And she was like, I don't want to have to look for both a brand designer and a web designer. She's like, do you do web design? And I just panicked because I really wanted to work with her. And so I just said yes, which I don't recommend at all. And so while we were doing the branding portion, I was watching probably like 5 YouTube videos a day, like watching Adobe Lives, watching people's tutorials on the internet, watching just as many things as I could to learn about it. And then I was trying to I guess, suss out Adobe XD before we had to go in there and make a wireframe. It was honestly the most terrifying experience ever. But that's essentially what threw me into web design, was like me being like, yeah, I do web design. And, you know, definitely should not have said that. I don't recommend doing that to anybody. But it ended up working out really well. This client was like super understanding, and they ended up really liking the design. And so since then, luckily, I've been able to just keep doing it. But I know what I would recommend to people, and what I recommended to some of my design students that I've had in the past, is to practice designing your own website first, so that you can like understand like what goes into the process, like how long it takes you to do this, to figure out any weaknesses that you have. So that way, like if there's any research you have to do, there's any gaps you have to fill in your skills, you're not having to do it on your client's paid time, it's on your own. Because it takes away that pressure.
Definitely. I agree with that, because I mean, a portfolio site is something that people always kind of want to do, but then you keep putting it off. So now's a great opportunity to learn how to make one, and then, you know, hopefully learn how to build it as well. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah, I think like it's so easy to put your stuff last because you're not really making money off of it. But it's honestly the biggest way that I've learned how to do everything was like trying to do my own branding, trying to do my own website. Taught me a lot about my process, about you know, what a client needs, what I need from the client. So I highly recommend trying to fit your own work into your like schedule if you can.
Agreed, 100%. Oh, Steven says that he did the same thing, and now he runs his own agency. So, you know, taking risks sometimes pays off.
Yeah, that's so
you
cool.
learn as you go. Oh, awesome. Annika is here. Hi, Annika. She says, hey, Elsa and Alyssa. Wonderful. So right now I can see that you're taking elements from your web design and kind of putting them on the mobile screen. Do you have like any process you use when you're thinking of how to place elements on mobile, or is it just feel things out as you go?
I think the biggest thing, besides like the thumb placement situation when it comes to any buttons or CTAs, I'm also kind of thinking about like, it's more of a scrollable thing. I'm just thinking about if someone's like really skimming, going really quickly, what might make them pause. So just for example, when it comes to movement on an iPhone or on a mobile, I may not use this part again, where the scrolling section, because one, we don't have a lot of real estate, so people might not even realize the text is scrolling, and it just doesn't translate as well. So I might do like a pop-up on a mobile versus a scrolling slow text banner on mobile, just to try and get people's attention more. Obviously, same thing with white space. I'm trying to play with white space differently. I'm using different amounts, I would say, than I did with the desktop version. Like I like a lot of like kind of padding around everything when it comes to the desktop, but with mobile, you have to get a bit more condensed with things.
Yeah. Oh, okay, awesome. I definitely see what you mean about like minimizing how much extra space that you're using.
Yeah, it's because if you if you really think about it, I people have asked me like, where do I get these UX UI kind of principles from? The
Yeah.
answer is from myself. Is I observe how I act, I suppose, or how, because I would consider myself a target audience member for the podcast. So,
Yeah.
or for example, I consider myself a target consumer for a lot of the brands, because I do a lot of Gen Z millennial brands.
Yeah.
So with that said, I observe like my own tendencies, and I see like I typically on my phone scroll through a website really fast, and I only pay attention if things like pop up or move or are really visually interesting.
Yeah.
So knowing that about myself, I just kind of take it as something to apply. Or like if something's too hard to reach with my thumb, I probably won't click on it. And so yeah, you can obviously do real research on UX UI. There's more than enough resources, but sometimes it's fun to just like know things about yourself and try and apply them as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Build your own ideal workflow, essentially, that you can adjust as you go along, depending on who you're working with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, putting my margins. I don't really follow the margins as closely on a mobile, just because sometimes they get disrupted by the platform. So I think I mentioned yesterday that I would probably build this in Squarespace.
Yeah.
But I could also do this in like Webflow if I wanted to. It just depends on your developer's preferences, I think. My developer that works with the studio really prefers Webflow, so this might be something that I would just defer to their preferences for.
Right, of course. We have our cute, nice custom shapes and stickers. For anyone who wasn't with us yesterday, these are all custom made, not downloaded from anywhere else. So yeah, if anyone was curious, I'm sure some people were. All custom stickers.
Yeah, I loved like how much people were enjoying that. I didn't think people were going to like them that much. I think it's something that I have just always done. I really like making stickers. Actually, I had a design internship a couple years ago, and one of the few things that I had full creative control over was the sticker sheet that this brand was providing in their packaging.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite things I've ever done to this day. Is that
Yeah, that sounds
sticker
exciting.
sheet? Yeah, it was super fun.
Ooh, we have a question from Steven. He asked, what do you use to develop your sites after you design them in XD? Which you've kind of explained, but I guess he wanted to hear what your
Yeah,
answer is.
yeah, for sure. I typically design everything in XD, and then depending on the needs of the client or the website, we choose a different platform. So if it's more for service providers or lifestyle or media, like not e-commerce, then I will do it in Squarespace typically. If a client or a website needs a bit more freedom creatively, so needs more animations or needs more freeform layouts, then I will suggest Webflow. And then if it's an e-commerce, I typically always suggest Shopify, or if not Shopify platforms, maybe a Webflow front end and then a Shopify plugin.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
it just depends a lot on, like if they have a lot of inventory, that's a lot of work to do in Webflow. So I would just do
Right.
Shopify. But if they're just having like a merch shop, for example, then that's something that I would recommend embedding maybe, and then choosing to build somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, Steven is apparently Team Webflow in all caps. Yes, Team Webflow here also. Okay. Love it. But yeah, definitely. If anyone has any more questions about what Alyssa's doing or her experience, her work process, feel free to type them in the chat.
Yeah, so with mobile, I have to check a lot more often. with the preview more so than the desktop because I have to check for legibility with the text. I like when it previews it essentially close to full size, but I'm checking a lot with spacing.
Right, yeah. It does look really nice. You've done this quickly. Like the first part is essentially done.
Yeah, I think if you're translating stuff pretty much identically over, it's basically just resizing and replacing things.
Yeah.
But whenever you're redesigning an element, so like this part, the episode portion, that might be a part that takes me a bit of thinking to do. Because I'm trying to think of how to list these episodes in a interesting way that is mobile friendly. So that is my plot right now. I'm thinking of using maybe pill shapes again. I think I talked a bit yesterday about consistency with border thickness.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm keeping in mind again today. Most of the borders I think I'll keep around 1. So I remember yesterday, all the borders that I used were 2-point thickness, and then the buttons were 1 point. So with mobile, it'll probably be 1 point thickness for everything, and then 0.5 thickness for buttons. So I'm guessing.
But amazing. Like I get what you're saying. I always forget and then I'm like 10 screens in and I'm like, oh my gosh. I have to go back and look at everything all over again.
Oh yeah, that is the worst. I definitely do that a lot too with my spacing rules with regards to typography. Sometimes I'll forget that the style is supposed to be like -10, tracking or something, and then I realize that all the text boxes have different ones. But the way I've fixed that is by just instead of creating a new text box, I just can option drag and just type from there, so that way everything stays consistent.
All right, okay, that's another good tip.
Okay, I'm trying to decide what color to make these, or if I should just make them white. But white feels boring to me.
Oh, we want to make it pop.
Yeah.
Color recommendations are definitely welcome for anyone with us.
Yeah, I feel like either this peach or this purple.
Ooh, they both look great. I definitely like that you went with the pill shape for the episode titles.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's a nice contrast to like the rounded rectangle and like the straight line up here. I think I mentioned yesterday, like I really like when information is sectioned off and like into containers. So that's just what I'm doing here.
Awesome. And as you're working, we have another question from Chris, who we owe our wonderful gradient design from. We haven't forgotten, Chris. Thank you again. And he's asking, do you like adding auto animates to your designs or maybe lottie animations?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes if it's a client that really needs to see an almost working prototyped or sort of as close to the real thing wireframe, then I will do that. However, just for efficiency's sake, I typically don't. I think I mentioned that whenever I share it with my developer, I typically don't prototype and I typically don't animate anything. I just kind of record a loom or annotate it. And I do the same thing for my clients. I send the annotations or I send the loom explaining what it's going to look like. Just because I think it's a better use of like my time if we can forego all of that extra work and allow them to kind of just visualize what I'm saying. But sometimes if they really need to see the vision tangibly, then I will. But yeah, it's a weakness of mine, I would totally say. And like, I have no shame in saying that. It's not my strongest point. So, I'd rather spend my time doing the things that I'm really good at, and rather than expel a bunch of effort that isn't necessarily the most fruitful, trying to do things that I'm like not great at.
Yeah, no, we talked a bit about that yesterday as well, because I think somebody had kind of a similar question that it's okay to collaborate with people who are more skilled in certain areas. It kind of helps you create an amazing product by using everyone's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And, for those who were not here yesterday as well, I'm gonna like pump Alyssa's podcast for her while she's working. It's called The Designer Diaries. I listened to an episode on Spotify. I can't remember what the other channels are that it's available on, but definitely a good listen. The episodes aren't that long, so it's like super easy to just listen to one really quickly.
Thank you for the plug. Yeah, I try to make them shorter. It's more for me, so I like it's a precaution so that I don't just
Mhm.
ramble forever. But I've
For
also,
hours.
yeah, when
Mhm.
I was researching making a podcast, I just remember seeing that most people prefer podcast episodes under like 30 minutes or over an
Mhm.
hour and something. And I was like, I don't know
Mhm.
if I could talk on all of these things for an hour.
Mhm.
So I put the goal of like 15 to 20 is kind of my range for each episode.
Okay, awesome.
Try to think about how we feel about this. Should I center? I think I might center these
Mhm.
to the, yeah, that looks way better. In that case, we have to middle.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. That does look really good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the design is great. You've already found a solution for kind of finding a better design suited for mobile for your episode title. So that's awesome. To anyone who's joining us, just joining, thank you for joining, first of all. Hope you're excited to be here. Right now, Alyssa is currently working on the mobile version of her landing page for her design podcast, The Designer Diaries. So she's going through her process. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or just, any comments you want to make. We are here to read them, potentially read them out. And if you are on YouTube, definitely join us on Behance where we can see any comments you have or any questions you have. Yeah.
Okay, so I got the whole episode part down, but I don't necessarily want to just jump in and put the
Mm-hmm.
about me under here because I think there's too many. I call them like floaters. So floating
Yeah.
objects versus anchored objects.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider this like an anchored object. So it's something that's like built on top
Mm-hmm.
versus like this is like a floater, something that looks like it's like hovering above the gradient background. So
Right.
this is a floater. These are floaters. And so is
Mm-hmm.
this. And so are these. So I don't want just a full section of just floaters. I think it's very visually kind of homogeneous. So I
Mm-hmm.
want an anchored section. So I'm going to use this cool shaped banner, but I'm not going to use it for episodes this time. I might use it for something else. So that's
Right.
what I'm doing with that.
Awesome. That's actually a really good point. I'd never heard of that before. Floaters and anchors and like how to alternate between them.
Yeah, I think I just made them up one day and I just kept referring to them with my developer. I taught like a web design course over the summer.
Oh, okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was like, oh yes, we needed some floaters in here. And people were like, what are you talking about? I had to give them the whole breakdown of like what the heck I was talking about.
No, it totally makes sense. Like that's what I've always been thinking sometimes. Like this is just kind of there, but I don't want it to be just kind of there. So how do I make it not look there? But now I have
Mm-hmm.
terms, floaters and anchors.
Floaters
Okay.
and anchors.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm trying to decide on a color. Mm.
Ooh.
It's kind of fun, but I also don't want it to be like.
Mm. Ooh, and we have a question from Myra. Do you also design for tablet responsiveness? I usually design for desktop and mobile and XD and wing the tablet version when I use Webflow, but wasn't sure if a developer needed a tablet design. Really good question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So this honestly depends a lot on the website itself. So if it's for Squarespace or Shopify, I don't do a tablet version, but at Webflow, it depends. So what I mean by that is if there are different functions on the website that will definitely differ on a tablet from the desktop and mobile version. For example, like a drop-down menu might be different, or which is something I use a lot. Then I will design that. Sometimes I don't design every single page for a tablet, so I only do pages that need that specification. But there are some clients who want it designed for all aspect ratios for all devices. That's something that we can include in a package, and so then I will do that. And they want like it to be a different experience per device. But typically, I think it's more worth your time to just develop all the pages in the desktop, all the pages in mobile, and then any one element that needs to be different for tablet, just design that portion of that page and then just let your developer know. Otherwise, it is a bit of waste of your time if it ends up kind of looking the same. So that's what I do, and that's what I had to do for my personal website that I had done a couple of months ago. I designed just a couple of pages in the tablet version, but not all of them. I'm all about like, if you can find a developer that I think matches your brainwave and can like anticipate what you want, I think that's the most ideal thing. And I've luckily found that with a couple of people. So that will save both of you guys time trying to accommodate each other by doing the most when you can in fact do, what's necessary, but not anything extra.
That's a really good point as well. Nuggets of wisdom being dropped during today's live stream, clearly. Oh, so it's gonna be like a repeating listen now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Love that.
So I love horizontal scrolling text. I just think it's so like dynamic, but it's so easy to develop too. So I'll just add that if people, because there hasn't been a CTA yet besides like clicking on this. So this is kind of like a fun CTA, and it's nice because it's spans the whole screen. A thumb can click that really easily, whether it's on the left or right.
Yeah.
Whether you're a lefty or righty. So that is something I think about sometimes, where I think about left-handed users in addition to right-handed users.
Yeah.
The thing that they have in common is that they can both reach things in like the bottom half of a phone on either side of the screen. So anything really important, I try to put the lower 2/3 of the screen or lower half of the screen, but side doesn't necessarily matter. But I try not to put anything that's like super pertinent on like the top left or like top middle, because that's like really hard to reach if you like think about it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Can't neglect our lefties out there.
Can't neglect them. Ooh, we have our About Me section. I love the design for this though. Like I'm a big fan of like giant drop shadows. I guess that's what you call it, the giant drop shadows. Yeah.
Me too. Something about them. I just think it's like so fun. It's kind of gives like a pop art feel to it, which is very much up my alley in terms of style.
Definitely. Oh, lots of people really like what you mentioned about that it's okay to collaborate and sometimes everyone has, their strengths and their weaknesses. Val says that she appreciates how open you are, which is very nice, and about which parts of the process you maybe don't prefer. And it highlights the reality of design and shows that not everyone has to be a master of every step. And a lot of people agreed with that. Chris did, I think Halia did, or if it's not Halia, Lexi. So yeah, I think that's the point that resonated with a lot of people.
That's good. Yeah, I think that was something I struggled with a lot when I was first starting out, that it seemed like everyone could do everything. And for example, like there are people who knew like shortcuts in Illustrator that I had no idea about. And it made me feel like, I was scrappy for some reason, or that maybe I wasn't as qualified or as skilled. But realistically, I don't think that knowing everything about a software or knowing how to do like really minute things detract at all. And even big things like prototyping detract at all. I think it's all just about, even if you can do it, just because you can doesn't mean that you have to. Like I can prototype, but I honestly really dislike it. So, and that's okay. And I haven't found a single person who's worked with me that like was actively upset or turned off by the fact that I don't prototype. I think if you just own it and, just say like, I don't enjoy doing it, or that's not something that I do, I don't think anyone should be arguing with you about that, or, should not reflect your ability in any way.
100%. I mean, mastering or at least focusing on one skill still makes you a creative. There's no creative, what's it called, chart where you have to check all the boxes before you can call yourself a designer or call yourself an artist.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of what you're good at as well.
For sure. I totally thought though, when I was first starting out, that there was kind of like a checklist of things that you had to know. And so I remember like trying to look at the resumes or portfolios of other creatives in similar industries as me and like see like what softwares have they mastered that they are really good at. And then I tried to teach myself those. But after a while, you just realize that like everyone knows a bit about something that you just can't possibly know. And at some point you just have to like own whatever it is that makes you an expert, but you can't try and emulate people like that. It's super tiring.
Agreed, definitely. Oh, Hallie is asking if you'll be doing courses again, because you mentioned courses a bit earlier.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I did a course that the studio hosted called the Designer Summer Camp. So I taught branding and web design. It is something that I want to do again for sure this year. I usually do it live in the summer, so it's probably when I'll do it again. But I also do a lot of things like this. I'll do workshops. I'll also do other mini courses. Like I have a mini course coming out actually in a week from now, which is super exciting.
That is exciting. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It's about branding for Gen Z businesses, which is kind of not what I'm known for. I don't want to say that, but it's something that's within my wheelhouse. So yeah, that's coming out soon. But if you want more info on that kind of thing, I'd recommend checking out my Instagram, because I'm always announcing stuff that I'm doing there.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, Halia, if you're interested in a course, or anyone else, definitely check out Alyssa's IG to get all the details. Oh my gosh, I do like this about section. The tiny little flower again.
Yeah, something about that flower icon just like does it for me. I just love it. I don't know what it is.
It works really well. Do you have like a system you use when you're thinking about text resizing as well for mobile?
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw, but I'm constantly checking to make sure that I'm using the right version of the text. So I have this text that's my body sizing. So it's size 12, and then 15 letter spacing. So if I go up to, like, this is a small body, so this is 12, 15. So I'm just constantly checking to make sure that I have kind of like a type suite going on. Actually, what I normally would do to help my developer out, that I'll show you really quickly, is I would actually make something that's like this. It's like mobile heading 1. I would do mobile heading 3. And I like leave all the formatting the same. And I literally
Mm-hmm.
just have it like this. And over here, I'll do the same thing. So I'll put like desktop heading 1. And I just do that every time that I resize or edit a text. So that way, when in Squarespace, if anyone has used it before, even just any development, it's just much easier if the developer can just click on a text and click on the size styling, so they don't have to like format a different text every single time.
Yeah.
Normally I would do that if I were doing more pages, but it's honestly just easier for me to just drag from whatever thing that I'm wanting. But that's why I do I resize something once and I know it's good, and then I just option drag and use that on other places.
Ooh, awesome. That's a really great tip. So it's kind of almost like a mini style guide that you would have on your file as well. Awesome.
So with buttons, I would say I lean on the larger side, because if you think about like a thumb, because even though the button over here is pretty small relative to the big box, because people can use their mouse, people are using their thumbs, which are just bigger. And so the amount of space that the buttons take up on here are always a bit bigger.
Got it. That's a good tip as well.
Okay, I'm gonna check this.
It looks so pretty. It looks funky. No, that's the right word. It looks funky.
Good. That's exactly what we're going for. Yeah.
Retro vibes.
Cool. I'm not loving where this flower is, so I think I might. Because I like the idea of filling up this weird white space gap with my photo. Maybe I'll just move the photo.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's better to me. But
yeah, it looks awesome.
Thanks. Cool. I'm liking this a lot.
It looks great. Val says the mobile layout is so cute. Agreed. Oh, and Chris was asking, because you talked about working with a developer. How did you find a developer that you like to work with?
That's a really good question. I was lucky enough actually for the developer I currently work with to reach out to me via Instagram. But what I do actually often is I will message fellow creatives, especially people who work in similar types of website building that I do, and I ask them for recommendations of people that they work with or that they recommend. And I find that people in the community are extremely willing to share those types of things. I've never had an instance where someone was like, well, I found them, I don't really want to, people have always been so gracious about that. Or I'll even post on my story or on Instagram, like seeking a developer for this platform, this type of site, and then I'll get some inquiries and speak to them that way. So, but I was lucky enough that the person that I work with now, we've worked on maybe a dozen websites together. They reached out to me and DM'd me, and we just started a conversation. But I've worked with a handful and I found them all that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. That people are like, willing to recommend, because that's the best part.
Oh, for sure. I think I've gotten questions before about if I feel any sort of competition with my fellow creatives, especially because I think I share a lot with regards to like tips and how I do things on my social media. So people wonder like if I ever feel a sense of competition, and the answer is honestly no, because I feel like when I entered into this space, I never felt any of those sentiments, and so I don't personally put them back out there. So if you ever feel kind of like afraid to ask people things or for tips and advice, like I wouldn't, because I think that the industry is actually very surprisingly like open to such things.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like even on social media, you'd be surprised how nice people are and they'll like root for you
Mm-hmm.
more so than maybe even you're rooting for yourself, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, the community can be so nice. Ooh, okay, and now we have our reviews. Mm, Sticking with the cloud shape, which definitely works really well on the website.
Yeah, I think it's like a really interesting floater,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to this thing yesterday where would want to have them kind of bobbing and moving, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
clouds would in a
Mm-hmm.
sky, which is kind of cute because it looks like a sunset around here, but um,
Yeah.
that's not really quite as possible to achieve. Someone would just kind of scroll right past that. I'm going to put
Right.
arrows so that people can swipe through them, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that you can have automatic carousels, so
Mm-hmm.
it'll switch after maybe a few
Mm-hmm.
seconds. That's something that I would probably turn on, but other than that, I don't recommend having too many like scrolling things on a mobile because it just doesn't translate as well.
Yeah, it's a good tip. Literally obsessed. These are real reviews, by the way, for anyone who wasn't here yesterday. Actual reviews of Alyssa's work.
Super kind reviews. I don't know if anyone's like me, and I don't know, sometimes people's perceptions of you affect you a lot, but that's just
Mhm.
me. I'm a Leo, if anyone's wondering. Um, but so sometimes I get afraid to read reviews. Like I will actively
Mm.
not read any for a long
Mhm.
time because I am
Mhm.
afraid. But then I did check them out and I was so pleasantly surprised with how kind everyone is on that review page. So
Yeah. Ooh, and you're using your favorite plugin again. We can see.
yes, the icons for design. There's even more plugins that you can get actually. Um, I think someone's asked me before if my plugins have slowed down XD for me, and like that hasn't been the case at all.
Mhm.
Because I know some plugins on like if you have too many plugins on Chrome, for example, like Google Chrome, it might slow it down, but I
Yeah.
haven't found any issues. So
Awesome. Got a couple more people who've joined us. So, hi, everyone. We have Patrick. Hi, Patrick from Australia. So, another person awake at 7 a.m., but welcome
whoa.
to the stream. We have Laura. Hi, Laura. She says, hi, Elsa and Alyssa. She says, Alyssa, this looks amazing. So, tons of
Thanks.
positive feedback as well. And we have another question from Val, kind of related to what you are mentioning before. If you can share with us any other insecurities you maybe had at first that you've overcome now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a long time, I had a lot of insecurities about pricing, which is something that I get a lot of questions about to this day
Mm-hmm.
about, I don't necessarily deserve to be charging what I do, or I don't know when to ask for more, or especially with regards to revisions, because for a long time I felt like the need for revision was my fault. Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
deliver on the first round. And so I
Yeah.
shouldn't charge for revisions. Or if someone's
Yeah.
asking for excessive revisions, it felt like my fault for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So just confidence in like the whole process of working with clients, I think was a hard thing to overcome. But luckily, since then, I've learned a lot about client, I think, creative dynamics. And the answer
Yeah.
is it's really nobody's fault when
Mm-hmm.
these things happen. Um, it's really just about vision, and like it's no one's fault when visions don't align perfectly because we're all different
Mm-hmm.
individuals. So, but realistically, if you were building a house and the homeowner wanted you to re-brick the entire house, like you're not doing that for free, right? So
Yeah.
I think like any other occupation, even if it's no one's fault, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's no one's necessary blame like for things going awry and having to redo it. Someone has to pay for it, someone has to do it. So that's just my view. Yeah. And so my biggest insecurity for a long time was just confidence with sticking up for myself, with talking about money. But I think once you frame it as not as like, oh, do I deserve to be paid this way, or like I deserve less or more, it's more about like what is fair, what feels right to me, what am I comfortable with. If you take it out of the frame of like just talking about money, I think that helps a lot.
I love that analogy. If you were rebricking someone's house, nobody's doing that for free. So why should you do revisions for free? That's a really great analogy as well.
Yeah, I don't even know where I got that. I think I remember seeing some sort of talk about, it's definitely not my metaphor. I want to say it's The Future by Chris Doe, but I don't want to put words in his mouth, but legendary YouTube channel that I learned a lot from. Yeah. But I remember there was some analogy about like other occupations. If there's a revision necessary, it's obvious, it's like implied that the revision has to be paid for. So how come with us it's not the same? We should treat it as if it's obvious and that it's like compulsory, of course. So that's kind of, since hearing that, I think I have actually adopted that frame of mind that nothing about our occupation warrants us being undercut or underpaid. So
100%. 100%. Oh, Patrick has an iconic slogan for us. Need to get paid for your time. Like L'Oreal said, you're worth it. Wonderful. Thank you, Patrick.
That is so funny.
We are worth it.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny.
Yeah, no, a lot of your responses are just really helping out, newer freelancers or new designers in the chat who maybe are currently experiencing what you experienced before. So thank you so much for the responses and for the all tell about what you had gone through before.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't feel that long ago that I was just starting out. So if there's any other questions too that I can answer, I would be happy to, especially when it comes to like the very beginning of your journey. That was something that I had almost no assistance with at all. So would be happy to answer stuff if people have questions.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone has questions, keep them coming in. I know Kai Nicole mentioned that she thought it would be more difficult, going from a web design to a mobile design, but you've made it look so easy. Agreed. Definitely. We've kind of sped through this.
Thank you. I think it helps that that the website doesn't necessarily have a crazy amount of features that have to be redesigned, but there have been some cases where I just really pulled out all the stops for the desktop version. I realized that nothing really translates mobilely. So luckily that hasn't been the case with this one, but
yeah. We've altered the shape for our values.
Yeah, I just didn't want to take up too much vertical space. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've mostly been doing middle centered things rather than too much left and right stuff. Just because you don't have a ton of real estate to work with. So
definitely. I'm always hyper conscious about like how far am I making people scroll if I'm designing something for mobile? Don't want to make it too far, but also can't take out everything that's valuable in terms of content. So it's about finding a balance.
Yeah, 100%. So that's something I'm actually really conscious about right now, where I feel like it's getting a bit long. So I am right now thinking of ways to kind of wrap it up, of like how to rethink this. And also the footer we can make virtually non-existent, which is what I'm leaning towards right now.
Awesome. But yeah, for anyone who's just joined us recently, I know a couple people have joined us. Thank you for joining this live stream. Hopefully, you're already having fun. And of course, I'm with Alyssa Nguyen. She is designing the mobile version of her landing page for her podcast, The Designer Diaries. And if you are on YouTube, once again, definitely join us on Behance. So many questions, so much chat going on. You don't want to miss it. So join us over in Behance to take part in the conversation. Oh, I love how when you mentioned your sign, like everyone mentioned their sign. So Val's
Oh,
a Virgo.
really?
We have a couple of Virgos. Nicole's a Virgo. Graham is a Cancer. Hallie is a Sagittarius. Oh my gosh, so many different kinds. Lexi's Pisces. Okay, Diamond's Gemini. We have like almost one of everyone. I'm a Libra. Do we have all of them? We're still like missing a few. That's awesome.
I love that. I don't know, how much I can personally say I'm knowledgeable about this, but there are some things that's like uncanny, like how accurate astrology can be.
Yeah.
um, like I'm a Leo
Mm-hmm.
sun, I'm a Virgo rising, which to anybody, if anyone wants to like read me in the comments, feel free. And I'm an Aries moon, but basically
Yeah.
what I've heard and what I've read is that it just matches my personality almost to the T, which is just hilarious because it's the accuracy is actually like uncanny. It's not even something that I can be like faking and be like, oh yeah, that sounds like me. No, it really is me. So I in some ways I am a believer. Like I have to believe it a little bit.
I would definitely. It's kind of scary how accurate they can be sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's me. That's actually me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love what you're doing so far. And a lot of people are just so curious about you and your work process. So let me get a couple questions for you. Halia is asking, or actually, oops, my mistake, not Halia. There's so many questions I have to scroll through. Yeah, Halia is asking, how long did it take for you to find your vibe for your brand?
Ooh, how long? Maybe. I mean, it is always evolving, I will say. Like my
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic from 4 months ago is super different from mine now. Well, not, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say super different. I would say it is slightly different, but I guess the vibe
Mm-hmm.
is still the same. I would
Mm-hmm.
say maybe 6 months of just designing all the time, just
Yeah.
posting stuff on Instagram, designing for fun, working
Mm-hmm.
with different clients, and then realizing like, okay, like there are some things that are pretty consistent amongst all of these brands. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried not to force it. For a while, I
Yeah.
did force it, and I was trying to like so distinctly give myself a vibe that I was
Mm-hmm.
actually confusing myself and trying to fit myself into these boxes that I thought existed.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want a good laugh, I would go to my TikTok, and there's one that's like me roasting my designs, my previous designs, and you will
Yeah.
see like the forcing of an aesthetic that just wasn't working. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, then that was going on for a couple of months. But once I finally was like eased off and just let myself design what came naturally to me, I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
6 months of just doing that for fun, and I
Mm-hmm.
started to really like feel secure in like a design vibe. And then
Mm-hmm.
now that I trust myself and now that clients come to me for that vibe, which I'm very blessed for, now I just kind of design whatever kind of comes into my brain. So there's not a lot of
Yeah.
like forcing going on, which is great.
Oh, that's awesome. 6 months though. It's actually not a short amount of time, which just goes to show you that some of these things you can't, like you said, force. You can't give yourself a deadline like I'm gonna master this in a week, gonna find my style. Doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, and I know some people are really lucky and they've found their style really early and soon. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm sure it takes some people even longer than 6 months. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
feel discouraged to anyone if they're not like, if they've been doing it for that long and it hasn't happened for them yet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when it comes to your design vibe, focus less on like specific clear markers. So I don't you don't necessarily be known for only using sans serifs or like only
Yeah.
using gradients or only using shapes. It's like a vibe. It's like abstract it should be like an essence of your work, but not necessarily like
Yeah.
definitive markers, because then that does trap you creatively. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are some brands where I haven't used any shapes really, or any sort of stickers, or I use very different fonts than I normally use, but the essence of what I do is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever that essence looks like or means to you, I think that's something you should try and seek, but not like definitive, telltale, tangible signs, because then that
Yeah.
is really hard to overcome in terms of variety and range in your work.
Yeah. Definitely. And look at that. We're like almost at the footer.
Yeah, I think we're honestly almost done. So I will probably end up designing the about page just so we have some cool stuff to look at.
We've killed this. Or I don't know. I'm saying we haven't done anything. You've killed it. Designing with you.
It does feel that. It feels very collaborative though.
It does.
And all the comments too helped a lot.
Right? People are so engaged. Crayam, I hope I'm saying that right, is asking, oh, this is a tough one, Crayam. Is it easy to make designs? Is it easy to make designs?
Oh wow, I'm about to have an existential crisis like in the middle of this live.
A philosophical question. Is it easy to design?
I think I don't think it's easy, but I think it feels right. Like it feels natural to me. That's how I answer that. So I don't think it's easy. Like there are some times where I really struggle and I really question if what I'm doing is right, if this is even good, things like that. And that's not an easy thing to go through, where you're just constantly questioning yourself. I also think like the skill involved and the time and the creative labor is not easy, but it doesn't feel difficult, if that makes sense. Like it feels right to me, at least. It feels like, I don't want to be cheesy, but sometimes it feels like, oh yeah, like this is what I was meant to do. I don't know if anyone knows about my story about how I got started, but I can tell it if people are interested. But I essentially, like, I was not on a track to be doing this as my life career, and it found me. And I haven't really looked back since. And so that's why I'm not going to say it's easy, but it feels natural. It feels right. And so yeah, but not easy.
That's a good answer though, definitely. And time has flown by. In just under half an hour, we're going to be having our artist spotlight. We'll be looking at a work of, well, I'm not going to say who the artist is. Yes, it'll be a surprise, but we're going to be reviewing their work and just kind of marveling at how amazing it is, because people are clearly so talented. And so definitely stay tuned for that. It's not going to be too long from now.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm actually going to change the color of this because I don't think it's not like contrasting enough with like the gradient. That might be too much contrast though. I like that one.
Mine is all about going back and reviewing your choices again and again.
100%. Okay. Let's try. I think we might be done with the mobile version.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, I do have to design the menu. So like when the menu pops up. But besides that, we're pretty...
Looks awesome. Definitely let us know in the chat what you think. But this has been a pretty great recreation of your website design on mobile.
Thank you. Yeah, that's always my goal. I always try to not make one version just like distinctly better than the other. I think I'm obviously partial to the desktop version always, but I try and make it so that way if someone were to visit on mobile, they wouldn't be like underwhelmed or disparately different reactions from the desktop. So let's just do the menu.
Awesome. And Tenzin was asking, sorry this was covered early on, but what are your go-to dimensions slash size templates when building for web and mobile, especially with all the phone options, which you actually did mention before.
Yeah, no worries. So with web, I usually do 1280,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's, I think, the smallest or the base one that we use in Webflow, and I think it's the one that Squarespace does a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I've always used. And then for phones, I've recently started using 13 and 12, like iPhone 13, 12. I used to use iPhone
Mm-hmm.
11, but I'm trying to keep up with the times and with like people's upgrades. So I've
Yeah.
recently kind of, I don't find that it's a huge difference as long as you're not using as long as you're not designing iPhone X or like iPhone like 8s or something that are
Yeah.
pretty old, then I think
Yeah.
you should be fine with like a relatively new-ish iPhone. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
usually a good bet. So
Definitely a good tip. Sometimes you just gotta upgrade. Gotta upgrade.
sometimes I still have an older phone, or quote older.
Oh, me too. But a Samsung. I'm not on the iPhone game just yet.
Oh, it does. Do you find that websites differ for you when you're looking at them, or no?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because what I like to do, Adobe XD has this great feature where if you plug in your phone, you can preview like app designs on your phone. So I love
Right.
doing that. So I have a Samsung S9. So whenever I'm designing for mobile screens, I make sure it's set for my specific phone type as well. So
Mm.
sometimes that means going to Google and finding your phone dimensions, which is, fine as well if XD doesn't have them.
Oh yeah, that's a really good tip. Totally forgot about I see that all the time actually, the iPhone plugging thing,
Yeah,
and I just totally forgot.
it's super convenient because crazy enough, sometimes you design something and you preview it on the XD app and it's like, oh, this looks great. And then you look at it on your phone, you're like,
Yeah.
never mind.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's actually so funny. That happened to me, I want to say a bit ago. I was designing a product page for mobile, which is like a bit harder. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, this is like fire. And then I looked at it on my phone. I was like, this is hideous.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. I love the huge chunky letters.
Thank you. I might make them chunkier, to be honest. I love, I might actually make these like not linear.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I really like that.
Oh, the tilt. That is cool.
Yeah.
You have so many creative ideas. Val actually had a question for you about that.
Yeah.
If I can find it again. There's so much going on in the chat, Alyssa. Like I'm struggling to like
Oh.
scroll through hundreds of messages. I'm joking. But she had a question on what happens when you kind of hit a creative block when it comes to redesigning for mobile based on a website design. Like how would you approach that kind of situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Whenever I had a creative block, before I might have gone and looked at other websites or like gone on Pinterest or something,
Mm-hmm.
but I've tried not to do that anymore. What I do is I step away from the design if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll even try and design some other collateral for that brand. So for example, if I can, like if we happen to have social media templates, or if we have like stickers, or if we have merch designs on, the roster for me to work on, I'll work on
Yeah.
that, get myself excited again about the brand if possible. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of creative block has to do not necessarily with like lack of ideas, but lack of excitement or lack of vision. So sometimes I have
Yeah.
to like plug myself back into the vision by
Yeah.
working on the brand in a different way, on like a different medium or
Mm-hmm.
different use. And then usually I'll get excited about something with the brand and come
Yeah.
back, even if that's just like scrolling on the brand's like social media or imagining,
Mhm.
their following, imagining what their collaterals going to look like.
Yeah.
I just try and get
Mhm.
myself excited again about it, and usually get myself into the mind frame. Something that I also like to do with my branding clients is I ask them to like
Yeah.
send me songs that emulate the
Ooh.
brand. And if they send me, if they do fill that out, then I will listen
Mhm.
to that. So I'll make a
Yeah.
playlist of my brands that I'm working on, and I'll listen to them. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I'll listen to their playlists to get into the groove, and it actually works
Mhm.
super well. So
That's amazing. That's such a good idea to use music. Well, music they're sent from your clients even as like a reference point as well.
yeah, it's actually super fun too, because you get to see a bit about your client's music taste.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I always enjoy doing that. And I always find that the music that they provide is usually so on brand with the brand that it really gets you into like a vibe. So that's something that I would do. Or another question I ask them is like, if your brand were to order a drink at Starbucks, what would they get? Sometimes I do buy it. Sometimes I do go out and get it and I drink it and
Yeah.
I try and get
Yeah.
into like a vibe, if that makes sense. It's like you have to
Yeah.
hype yourself up for it, and it
Mm-hmm.
usually helps you.
Oh, definitely. Using all your senses, taste, smell,
100%. Yeah.
hearing. That's amazing. That's such a good idea.
Okay. I think that's good. I'm just gonna name these.
Ooh, awesome. Tenzin loves the tilt. Oh, a lot of people love the tilt. Chris, Val, we all love the tilt. Tenzin asks, do
Yeah.
you imagine them static or like animating into that angle upon opening the menu?
I thought it would be kind of cool if it's like, well, my idea is that when you click on the menu, that this bar drops down
Hmm.
and then the words kind of like
Yeah.
they drop into that position, if that makes sense. But also, this is an occasion where I would have to
Yeah.
consult my developer and be like, so how feasible is this?
Can we do this?
um, yeah, my developers are awesome and they typically find solutions for all such things. But if that's not the case, then they probably
Yeah.
just be static. But
Hmm.
I would want this like hover action if possible, with underlines. So I just usually show one option, what it looks like clicked on. So when you click on it,
Yeah.
I would want it underlined. But
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Showing different states. That's cool.
So I can try and make an about page really quickly.
Ooh,
If that's,
okay. We are definitely all eager.
yeah, I think I could do one fast because realistically, there's
Mm-hmm.
not too much that goes
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
in a about page. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. We're doing an about page. Ooh, great
So
question from Patrick as you're getting started on your about page.
mm,
Patrick is studying graphics design at the moment, changing careers at 35. What should I include or make or put in my portfolio to land a job? Looking at getting into website design and visual media work. Great question, Patrick. I think a lot of people are like transitioning into design and would have a similar question as well. What do you put on your portfolio?
yeah, I think one big thing to put, if you're trying to work with clients or with an agency, what I've
Mhm.
seen has been favorable with all of those um, different avenues of work is personality in your
Mhm.
work. I think people really want to work with creatives that have like not a personality per se, but like a signature or something that really excites them. I think it's always fun to
Yeah.
work with a creative that seems excited about what they do. So I would
Yeah.
try and put not work that you think people want to see, but work that you yourself are very proud of and into and like that you really
Yeah.
like. Um,
Mhm.
I think that is very alluring to people. Like when I am personally hiring, I like to see projects that reflect the excitement and interests of the person that I'm working with, because
Yeah.
if this is their work when they're excited about something, then I feel like that's the most accurate representation of their skill. Versus if I'm seeing
Yeah.
work that they think that I want to see, it doesn't.
Mhm.
It's almost like dating. It's like you really have to put who you are out there. You can't put like
Yeah.
the shell of yourself out there. So, but
Mhm.
with regards to the actual content, try and put a diverse amount of work. So try not to
Mhm.
do, for example, like in my portfolio, I have some work that's like highlights packaging, some work that highlights social media content, some work case studies that highlight the branding, some one case study that highlights the website. So all 4 of them, show my skill that I'm excited about, reflect my aesthetic, my personality, and what I'm interested in doing. But each one kind of rounds out a different skill of mine in a different way. And so yeah, try and just put stuff that you love, but also highlights you in a flattering way, in a balanced way. So hopefully that was helpful.
It was 100% really good advice. Don't think that you have to pretend to be a certain kind of way. People definitely appreciate like seeing, oh, this is who this person is. This is who Patrick is. I like Patrick's vibe. I want to work with Patrick. And that's kind of the vibe that you definitely want to give off as well.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly think that a lot of the clients that I get are not even so much the result of just my work, but I think people connect with me through my social media profile and feel like they can trust me or that they want to work with me because they connect with me in that way, in addition to my work. So putting yourself into your work is not unprofessional. It's actually, as a freelancer, as a creative nowadays, it's something that is actually very much sought after and appreciated when you put a name to the face and when you infuse something that's quite digital and like internet like place with something that's more human and like real. I think people like that a lot.
Ooh, awesome. Definitely a great tip. Definitely let us know. So how are you approaching the design for the About Us page?
Yeah, so my thought process is that anybody who is coming to the About Us page, like, is actually interested in browsing. People who go on a landing page, probably just more people just clicked and were like just looking around. But people who are on the About page, they're actually browsing. They probably will read what's on here. So I'm not so much trying to catch their attention anymore like I was in the landing page. I'm more so trying to give them valuable, engaging information that they're looking for. So when it comes to pages that are not the landing page, you can actually focus a lot more on content rather than like strategy, I guess you could say, or on gimmicks. So that's what I'm focusing on now. Is I really want to think more about what is someone coming to this About page trying to learn. So I presume that they would want to meet me and hear about me if they're going to be listening to me on their Spotify or Apple. So knowing that, I am going to put a more in-depth introduction about myself on here. And then I'll probably also talk a bit more about like why we started the podcast, what you can expect. I'll probably put like, how you can get involved. So what my assumptions essentially about the user are different on a landing page versus on an inner page, I guess. It's like I assume that people who are interacting here are like genuinely interested.
Agreed. I would think the same. Yeah, if somebody's going to my About Me or About Us page, they probably want to know a bit more about who I am, maybe what I'm, what my services are. In this case, what your podcast is, that kind of thing. So yeah. I love how quickly you just kind of know how to put elements on the canvas.
Thank you.
Like in a minute. We have a heading and paragraph, and placeholders and a picture of you.
I don't know what it is. Something about this aesthetic, or when I'm designing an aesthetic that I feel very comfortable in, it's just super easy for me, I think, or very quick. for me to work on that kind of stuff, or like to come up with those ideas. If it's an aesthetic that is slightly out of my comfort zone, it's definitely not this
Yeah.
quick.
Okay. Ooh, Stephen has a great question. Who are your go-tos that you learned from on YouTube for people who are kind of wanting to learn logo design, branding, and web design?
Yeah, I learned a lot from watching Kel Lauren, Kel space Lauren.
Yes, I love
Mm-hmm.
her YouTube too.
Yeah, it's so, so good. A lot of the rebrand videos taught me a lot of Illustrator tips, also a lot about the creative process. I watched a lot of their videos on like rebranding KFC or rebranding, airlines. And that was really fun for me to watch. And then also their videos on designing merch for different artists was really cool to see how they work with textures and photos and things like that. So that's a great channel. I think I mentioned The Future by Chris Do, or just The Future with Chris
Yeah.
Do's videos on there. So great if you want to learn more about like pricing, nitty gritty stuff. Also, they're building a brand series where they work with a client. That's more agency stuff, I think, but
Yeah.
still super relevant. Really, really love that series. Another one, I'm blanking on the name, but I actually did make a little carousel of this on my Instagram where it's like resources that I used when I was first starting out. So maybe check that one out. But those two channels distinctly pop out to me as being very, very helpful.
Great. Those are two great channels as well that I watch.
I feel like everyone I've talked to has at some point watched those creators, which is just so cool if you think about it, that we all have similar life experiences in terms of entering in.
That's crazy. Ooh, we have just under 9 minutes until our artist spotlight. It's almost here. I can't wait. We'll be reviewing an artist's work and really just commenting on like great things that they've done. So definitely stay tuned if you want to see who's going to be featured in this stream. And if you want to recommend anyone for a future stream, definitely click the artist spotlight tab above the chat and you can do so. Hopefully you get to see them in a future stream as well. So yeah, pretty soon that's what we're going to get to. Loving the about page so far.
Thank you. So I'm just putting like meet me. I'll probably do another our values, but I'll probably make it more informative.
Right. A bit more detail.
Might do it this way.
Ooh, we have a two combo question. I'm gonna combo these questions together. The first part is Alyssa and chat, what are your dream jobs, or what would be the perfect project that you would love to work on? Second part of this question is Alyssa, what did you do before you started working as a designer?
Oh yeah. Okay, so first question of my dream job or dream client. I would love to work with a clothing brand that makes gender neutral or like gender inclusive and like very body positive clothing. And I think I would love it, especially if it was owned by like a woman of color or a person of color. It's like that's a dream for me. So something like, yeah, I think that would be super cool. Or even a sneaker brand, I think would be really cool because I'm a big sneaker person. So that'd be great. But what I used to do, actually, I was a student before I started my design studio my junior year of college. So it's kind of what I've always known and what I've always done. But before I was a private tutor for kids and I was also working in an office as an office assistant. So yeah, this is honestly the only big girl job I've ever had, and it's probably the one that I will have for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dream is to scale the studio into, I want it to be like a woman of color, like specialized agency. So everyone who works there is a person of color, woman of color. I would
Yeah.
love that. And then we specialize in those brands. And yeah, that would be a dream for me. But so I'll
Yeah.
probably be doing this for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, that was a really good question.
It was. I do love that you were tutoring kids before. I also taught kids before. Maybe that's like a common path. You teach
Yeah.
kids and then you start designing.
And maybe it's like something about like the level of patience that it requires or something. I
Oh
don't
my
know, but
gosh, that is true. That is so true. Oh, Val says that she was working in the DMV and was studying to be a forensic anthropologist before she decided to pursue a creative career. What?
that's
A
so
forensic
cool.
anthropologist sounds so cool. Oh my gosh.
That is really cool.
Yeah, very different career jump. That's awesome. Ooh, and hi, Maria. Maria just joined. Welcome, everyone. Everyone who's joining now, you are literally just in time for our artist spotlight, which is in under 5 minutes. So perfect timing. And of
Yeah.
course, currently Alyssa is working on her About Us page because she killed the mobile version of the homepage. So we're already moving on to the next page.
Yeah, I'm trying to go quickly-ish that way. We can hopefully finish before the artist spotlight. Oh shoot. So this is something I do often on accident where when I option drag, sometimes I don't like check to make sure I didn't accidentally just take the whole thing. But
Yeah.
luckily that wasn't an element that was like super hard. So I just replaced it. But sometimes I will option drag something, I realize it's just gone because I just used it.
I did the
So,
same thing. Oh my gosh. And yeah, for anyone new to XD and new to shortcuts, option drag like helps you duplicate the element that you are dragging. So just a super fast way to duplicate things quickly without having to use Command V and Command D or Command V rather. Yeah. Do you use a lot of keyboard shortcuts when you're using XD?
yeah, I use a lot. I one that I use a lot is like the Command Shift bracket, like the two
Oh,
brackets. So that sends it to the back. So I'll do it right now, like Command Shift
yeah.
left bracket sends it to the back or to the front.
Mm-hmm.
So I do
Mm-hmm.
that all the time because I should have my layer panel open, but I don't. That's just not what I do. I just prefer to send stuff to the back and front, and
Yeah.
um, and I
Ooh,
haven't
that's a good
found
one.
that it has affected my designs necessarily in any distinctive way. So yeah, it's just what I do. I kind of want this gradient to start higher up. So
Ooh, yeah, and we're using our markers again to play around with our gradient, customize it, get the colors where we want them to go.
so I'm not loving this oval. I might make another cloud. Is
Bring
anybody
back the clouds.
surprised? No, no one's surprised.
Oh, we're making another custom cloud with our little circles.
Yep. It's just so easy and
I
it's so
love this
fun.
process. I'm literally gonna use this.
It's so fun. And what I like about it is it's so like organic and free form. I'm not focused on making them evenly spaced or the same height or anything. Because that's not what a cloud looks like.
True, very true.
But sometimes I end up hating it, and that's totally fine too. So let's just see how I feel. So I'm just selecting everything. Oh, I love it.
Looks great. Yeah. So you selected all of them and joined them together using one of the Pathfinder options, the first one, which I think is combine. Yeah. great tip for everyone. If you want to make custom shapes and merge them, use your Pathfinder tools. They're super convenient to use.
Yeah, I honestly did not know what those were even for until like half a year into me designing. So, I don't know if that's embarrassing for me to put out there, but I'm just trying
No.
to put out that you honestly don't need to know everything about every software to start designing and making clients,
Yeah,
because no one's going to know that you don't know this.
exactly. No one's gonna know. Ooh, with our nice chunky drop shadow.
Yeah, I think it makes it pop a little.
Definitely, it looks great. Ooh, that really does look so nice. I love how it's all coming together and so quickly as well. You wanted to finish it before the artist spotlight, and you're setting great time.
Thank you. Yeah, I only have one more thing and then we're done, and that's just moving up the footer. This is all that I would put personally on a about page. I think anything beyond that, people probably wouldn't read it. So,
Yeah,
but I
so
might take it.
definitely. We are totally ready to come back to this.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, switch on over and do our artist spotlight. And hopefully, everyone is super excited for that. So, yeah, I mean, Alyssa, I feel like I should give you the honors of introducing who we're going to be spotlighting for today. So, please go on ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So this artist or creative for spotlighting is Matthew Miller. They are the amazing creative responsible for the photos I've been working with this website design. They're honestly one of the coolest graphic designers I see on the internet. I just want to show everybody their work. It's so, I want to say, like, unique, but also eye-catching at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I seriously would never ever have been able to come up with a design like this, with like
Oh
these
my
patterns and
God.
colors, but it's
Yeah,
so cool. Like, it feels just like nothing I've ever seen on the internet, I think.
I agree. Like, this is such a unique style. And I love that because it's different from everything else that you normally see.
Yeah, I think it's just such like a refreshing aesthetic. It feels both nostalgic, but also so future forward at the same time.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
love this
agree with
website
that.
design.
Oh my gosh. You're right about the retro feel, but also at the same time, it has that futuristic mobile vibe as well. Oh my gosh, Matthew. And Matthew was here yesterday, I remember. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Matthew, if
So
you're here today, we are like hyping your work up. So,
it's just so good. And I believe he only started designing like a year ago or a year and a half ago. He was a photographer before. So all of these
oh,
skills were
mm-hmm.
developed on honestly a very short span of time, which is just so crazy to
Yeah.
me.
Oh my gosh, a year isn't even that long of a time. But yeah, his style is just so unique. Like you wouldn't really find another artist that does work like this. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I like that there's not a lot of like repetitiveness. I even
Yeah.
struggle with that with my own like Instagram content. I kind of
Hmm.
default to very similar layouts and colors and
Yeah.
fonts, and just because
Yeah.
it's just easier sometimes. And
Mhm.
but I just find that every single time there's a new post with Matthew, it's so different from the previous.
Agreed. And I love that he combines like visual elements that you normally never would, like font faces that are so different from each other, or colors or patterns, but it works. How he does it just makes it work. And I think that's such a cool skill.
Yeah, I think it's so rare. I think that someone can break, like, not design rules, but
Mhm.
preconceived notions of like how colors
Yeah.
and how type works and white space
Yeah.
works. And you can just
Hmm.
break all of those. And it just works so well.
A hundred
So I just love it. Like,
percent.
I'm obsessed with this one. It just reminds me of like a book cover that you would see from
Mhm.
like a 90s book or something.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
cool.
Oh my gosh, I do love these designs. I would be so curious to hear like what his design process is. Like, how do you begin to think of how to approach these types of designs? It's amazing.
Yeah, it I think I've watched them design before,
Mm-hmm.
and it is actually crazy to watch. I think he actually designs in Photoshop, um because he uses a lot of textures and manipulates a lot of
Ah,
like grain and things like that. So that's pretty
yeah.
cool because I don't think I can do that. But
Yeah.
so that's one thing, and I don't know. I just think it's just so unique. I don't necessarily know anyone who has a skill
Mm-hmm.
set like this for making stuff that like normally you wouldn't think work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. And I also just love that, okay, like looking on his feed, your first impression might be like, this is just a graphics designer, but he does a lot of things: graphics design, photography, UI design. So it's just crazy that he's able to apply all these skills to these different areas as well.
Yeah, it's so cool. He also does graphic design work for Future Earth, if you've heard about it. It's a an account that advocates and educates about global warming and the climate and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
climate justice and things like that. And he does a lot of the infographics for them, and it
Yeah.
is so cool. Um,
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh.
He does a lot of social media content creation for a lot of different accounts, and it's just like he has such a distinct like signature that I can, when I see something, I like know it was his. It's just so fun when you look at these other accounts that are like huge, just to know that my friend is behind him. So even this one's really cool. Like I would never think to do anything like this. I don't know if we're having technical difficulties or anything, but just scrolling.
Hi everyone. We are back. So sorry about that. My internet clearly tried to sabotage me. Even my backup internet did. But we are back, thankfully. And I believe we were going through Matthew's page, or we were kind of done with that as well. But yeah, I loved seeing his designs and his Instagram. Definitely someone worth following as well.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone follow Matthew, check out his work, check out his work on Future Earth. It's definitely a nice breath of fresh air if you often get creative block, because just seeing creativity in his work makes me want to be more innovative in my work. So totally recommend. And he's a really good human being. So that's great too.
Awesome. But yeah, I think Val mentioned in the chat, if you wanted to recommend anyone for a future artist spotlight, definitely do using the tab above the chat. We would love to see their work as well. But yeah, Alyssa, I think we're jumping right back into what you were doing. So if you wanted to let anyone who's just joined recently what we are currently finishing up for this stream, they would love to know.
Yeah, so earlier I just built the mobile version of the landing page that I built yesterday, but I decided since we had some extra time, I would show you what I would do to build out a about page. So I wrapped it up a little early, but I think I'm gonna add in a suggest a pod, like an episode little section, and I might even add a section where I talk about like why the podcast exists, because I think someone might, yeah. But that's just what I'm thinking about for now. So definitely want to add in a section on recommending episodes, because I ask a lot on my Instagram, but it'd be great if I embedded some sort of form.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. I do have an email list, so that would be a good thing to include. Normally, that's something I might include on a landing page. So let's just pretend that it's on the landing page, and we'll just put it in here. So we'll do a suggest episodes, and then a mailing list.
Ooh, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great idea as well. Give people a taste of, what they can tune into. Never hurts.
So I really like this box. So I might use that for the email list again. But then for the leave a review, so I think I mentioned earlier, like the floaters and anchors, we have like floater, anchor, floater, and this is gonna be a floater. So I'm thinking you have an anchor here. So let's go with, I'm trying to decide if I want a square or if I want something like that, or because I already did something like that, I'm kind of, maybe I'll go crazy and I'll just use a picture.
Go wild.
Sometimes this sounds really funny. I don't know if anyone else talks to themselves when they're designing, but if you were to hear me designing, you just hear like, well, let's try this. Oh, that looks good. That looks nice. Or I'll be like, oh yeah, let's give that a try. I definitely sound crazy.
I don't think you sound great. I think we all do that. You gotta talk to yourself a bit. Who else are you gonna talk to? Think out loud.
Especially because like being a creative can be like really lonely, because you're just kind of you and a computer alone. So sometimes I gotta do it for my own sake.
Agreed. Alexia says, witnessing how quickly Alyssa can make magic is insane. I agree. I agree. She's on a whole new page. That is just so crazy.
That is so nice, you guys. That's so funny. Lexi is actually one of the students in my design course over the summer. And yeah, so
that's
she's
so nice.
Great. Yeah, she's supporting me in here. Okay, let's do something like this.
Okay. With the picture, I think that looks really cool.
Thank you. I might actually blur the background, which is a really cool feature
Oh,
in
mm-hmm,
XD. Or you can do like object blur.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I love the blurring option. So curious about how you're gonna do it.
So I should do object blur. You can like do that. You can also do like, I know there's a drop shadow option that a lot of people do, but I like the harsh
Mm-hmm,
drop shadow. But
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to decide if this is even necessary with the blurring.
mm-hmm.
Let me see. Maybe this is a time to include the chat, because I feel like maybe I didn't include the chat too much last time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
Let us know in the chat any options or ideas about how to blur this image. We would love your feedback and inputs.
Yeah, I would probably just blur it like, I feel like that looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell it's me, but it's not like, so I like this photo, but it's not really horizontal. So I'm just like having to zoom in a lot, which is totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to give myself some white space to work with. So that's why I'm doing that.
Right, yeah.
I might make it longer and move myself back.
Yeah, that's one of the great features I think also about XD. Like
Yeah.
even once you place a photo in a shape, you can still click into the shape and adjust it, enlarge it, move it around so you can kind of get it to be positioned as how you'd like. So exactly like what you did right there, cropping off the top half of your face and then giving us white space on the left side. It looks really dope.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I honestly do a lot of quick design work in XD as well. Like if I'm making just social media content, I often will just go into XD rather than going into Illustrator or other things, just because it's just so quick. And I design all of my clients' social media templates in XD as well. So
Oh, okay, yeah. I really love how this looks.
yeah.
Yeah, Lexi says this looks great. So, in the chat, they love it too. And if anyone has any more last minute questions for Alyssa, because sadly our time is like zooming by, we're almost at the end of our stream, definitely post them so I can share them with her and get them answered. But time has just flown by so quickly.
I know it always flies by. I love how much people interact in the chat. It's really great.
Same, I agree.
So yeah, all I have left is really this section and then we'll be done.
Just like that. Oh my gosh. It is magic. It's wizardry. Oh, Haley says that she likes the blur. It makes the heading pop more. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I like it too. I feel like I could even blur it more if I wanted to, but that's okay. I think it kind of it makes it less weird for me to like make a photo of myself the like the background when it's blurred. When it's just like me, just me in my face, just this large on a desktop. No blurring. I do feel a little bit self-conscious. So
yeah, that's a good tip. If you don't want to just have your face on what's the largest desktop screen? Someone's huge external monitor.
Yeah.
Just
blur it. Yeah.
Ooh, join the mailing list. How often would you say you send out emails to your mailing list as well?
Not too much to the about the podcast, but for the studio, we probably send a decent amount. More so, we try not to do like anything weekly. We don't want to spam people, but I let people know about like when the course is coming up with new episodes. I let people know when there's like any sales, like when we did a Black Friday sale. People know
Yeah.
when there's like last minute spots open if you're a client. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have different lists depending on if you're creative or if you're a client, but I try to only send stuff when it might be relevant to you, and I try not to bombard you too much. But you'll hear from me a bit if you're into that. You'll probably hear from me.
Once in a while, not too often. I like that, definitely. But yeah, Alyssa is like pretty much finishing up the design for her About Us page. And wow, I'm just so amazed at how quickly time has flown by. So we have just under 5 minutes left in our stream. And thank you so much to everyone for joining. It's been such a fun session as well. And I'll definitely give it over to Alyssa to kind of finish things up and let us know what did we accomplish in these 2 days, because it's quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I am super pleased actually with everything that we got to do. This is generally what the process looks like for me. So I'm really glad you kind of got to see it in real time. I didn't pre-plan really anything. I didn't pre-plan any of the layouts. I didn't pre-plan any of the shapes. You saw me make them all pretty much from scratch, and that's honestly like what it's like. So I'm really pleased that everyone got to see that. So this is honestly pretty accurate to what it looks like for me when I'm designing a site for a client. It's really just me playing around with layouts, thinking about, in the terms of the user, or in terms of their audience, like what behaviors, what types of things should we accommodate or target or look for, and then just translating those things into the design. So I'm really happy everyone kind of got to see everything happening as if this were a client's website, but it's just mine.
For her podcast. Yeah, it looks great. I know Ingrid in the chat just said it has a 90s vibe. That's what we've been saying since yesterday. It has a retro vibe to it. I don't know if you checked out Daria yet. Someone mentioned it gives off Daria vibes. Definitely do. It gives off Daria vibes.
Not yet, but I totally will. I thought originally when you were saying that, you were saying like Diaries vibes, and I was like, good, that's the name of the podcast. So but I realized that's not what you were saying. Yeah.
No, it is such a great design.
So I hope this was like helpful for people, or if not helpful, then at least entertaining.
I think it was both. You nailed it on both fronts. So
good. I'm so
no
glad.
worries there. Oh, we have our nice, cute little mailing list form. I love it. I love the pill shapes as well that we're using in this section. Yeah,
I love a good pill shape, which I'm sure people have caught on to by now.
We 100% know by now, yeah.
It's just, I don't know, something about it feels, I like things that feel like really fun and like playful. Something about a pill just feels fun. Like, I don't know, it just seems playful to me. So
I agree. Well, this looks amazing. And honestly, we are all impressed, I'm sure, at how quickly you managed to finish this page during today's stream, plus the mobile version of your homepage. So super fast work on Alyssa's part. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Alyssa, I'll give you an opportunity to just say one more quick goodbye.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much to everybody for watching this. I so appreciate it. I didn't really think anyone was going to, so anyone who's here has defied my expectations. But I hope this was helpful. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to Elsa and Adobe for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Alyssa. We loved your work. It's amazing. And I'm sure all of us are definitely going to follow you and see what more you do in the future as well. But for everyone who joined today's stream, thank you so much for being with us. We had lots of fun. The chat was so engaging. Loved all the questions that came through. And we hope you learned something as well from Alyssa's design process. Definitely stay tuned to the live stream. After this is going to be the XD Daily Creative Challenge replay with Jesse Showalter. Once again, daily creative challenges are just a great way of practicing your design skills. You don't want to miss it. So definitely stay tuned for that. And tomorrow we're starting off our day with a Creative Cloud Express stream, exploring different ways to use the app to get started with your small business. Then we have even more amazing content. We have a graphic glow up with Voodoo Val, how to make a mock-up with Claddy, and in the afternoon, branding for a wedding photographer with Sarah Nosnary. So lots of great stuff tomorrow that you don't want to miss. But once again, thank you for being with us today. Until next time, see you and have a wonderful day or evening. Bye.
Bye.